Namaskar, this is News Night on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn. Thank you very much for joining us this Saturday evening. And on the program, we'll be looking at the Indian Ocean and the crucial role played by India in being a net security provider in the region under the Sagar principle, or security and growth for all in the region. The Navy Chief, in his message on Navy Day, spoke about the Indian Ocean and also the External Affairs Ministers attending the Indian Ocean Conference in Abu Dhabi. Let's begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates and lays the foundation stone of 18 projects worth 18,000 crore rupees in Uttarakhand. The Prime Minister assures the people that development is taking place without vote bank politics. Union Home Minister Amit Shah visits border near Jaisalmer on the occasion of the 57th Raising Day of the Border Security Force. Pays tribute to those BSF personnel who laid down their lives for the nation, assures soldiers on the borders that they will be able to spend 100 days of the year with their families, visits the famous Thanot Mata temple. The External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addresses the 5th Indian Ocean Conference on the theme Ecology, Economy, Epidemic in Abu Dhabi. This year, the conference is dealing with challenges faced by the Indian Ocean due to effects of the pandemic, economic decline and climate change. A fresh case of Omicron variant is reported from Gujarat. The third case of the country comes from Jamnagar. The Union Health Secretary writes a letter to Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Jammu and Kashmir, where the rate of COVID infections are on the rise. Directs efforts to enhance testing, tracking and treatment. The World Health Organization says Omicron variant is now detected in 38 countries, but no deaths have been reported till now. The cyclonic storm Javad continues to weaken. It's expected to hit Andhra Pradesh and Odisha coasts by Sunday afternoon. Wind speeds of about 50 to 70 kilometers per hour are expected. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is also likely in many districts. Parliament celebrates the centenary of the Public Accounts Committee. The program is organized in the Central Hall. President Ramnath Kovind says parliamentary committees strengthen democracy. The Vice President asks the committee members to participate wholeheartedly in meetings. And India dominates New Zealand in the second test at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. New Zealand are bowled out for just 62 runs in their first innings. However, the New Zealand spinner Ajaz Patel creates history, becoming the third bowler in cricket history to take all 10 wickets in an innings. India ends day 3 at 69 without loss in the second innings. Our top story: Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of various projects worth around 18,000 crore rupees in Dehradun. Now, this includes the Delhi-Dehradun Economic Corridor, the Greenfield Alignment Project from Delhi-Dehradun Economic Corridor and several others as well. The Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for the child-friendly city project Dehradun, also the development of water supply and inaugurated projects which have a focus on making travel safer by tackling the problem of chronic landslides. The Prime Minister said that Uttarakhand is not just the center of faith, it's a symbol of hard work and determination. Here's our report.
ये परियोजनाएं इस दशक को उत्तराखंड का दशक बनाने में अहम भूमिका निभाएगी.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi gifting Dev Bhumi, or the land of the gods, Uttarakhand with 18 projects worth 18,000 crore rupees. No sector has been left untouched, and a major emphasis is on connectivity, health infrastructure, religious tourism and boosting employment. Among the mega projects is the Delhi-Dehradun Economic Corridor from Eastern Peripheral Expressway junction to Dehradun. It will be built at a cost of around 8,300 crore rupees and will have 7 major interchanges for connectivity as well as Asia's largest wildlife elevated corridor spanning 12 kilometers for unrestricted wildlife movement. The Greenfield Alignment Project from Delhi-Dehradun Economic Corridor will provide seamless connectivity.
कि दिल्ली देहरादून इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर जब ये बनकर तैयार हो जाएगा तो दिल्ली से देहरादून आने जाने में जो समय लगता है वो करीब करीब आधा हो जाएगा। दिल्ली देहरादून एक्सप्रेसवे पर्यावरण सुरक्षा के साथ हमारे विकास के मॉडल का भी प्रमाण होगा। इसमें एक तरफ उद्योगों का कॉरिडोर होगा। ये कॉरिडोर यातायात तो सरल करेगा ही, जंगली जीवों को भी सुरक्षित आने जाने में मदद करेगा।
The Haridwar Ring Road from Manoharpur to Kangri to be built at a cost of over 1,600 crore rupees. The interstate Dehradun Paonta Sahib road project to be constructed at a cost of around 1,700 crore rupees will boost interstate tourism. The Najibabad Kordwar road widening project will improve connectivity to Lansdowne. A bridge across River Ganga next to the Lakshman Jhula will also be constructed. The world-renowned Lakshman Jhula was constructed in 1929 but has now been closed.
हरिद्वार रिंग रोड परियोजना से हरिद्वार शहर को जाम की बरसों पुरानी समस्या से मुक्ति मिलेगी। इससे कुमाऊं क्षेत्र के साथ संपर्क भी और आसान होगा।
In line with the Prime Minister's vision to develop smart spiritual towns and upgrade tourism-related infrastructure, the foundation stone for infrastructure development works at Sri Badrinath Dham and Gangotri Yamunotri Dham was laid.
बेहतर कनेक्टिविटी और सुविधाओं से पर्यटन और तीर्थाटन को कितना लाभ होता है, बीते वर्षों में केदार धाम में हमने अनुभव किया है। केदार धाम के पुनर्निर्माण ने न सिर्फ श्रद्धालुओं की संख्या बढ़ाई बल्कि वहां के लोगों को रोजगार, स्वरोजगार के भी अनेकों अवसर उपलब्ध कराए हैं।
Slamming the work done by previous government, Prime Minister said that the central government built only 288 kilometers of national highways worth 600 crore rupees in Uttarakhand, whereas in the last 7 years, national highways of more than 2,000 kilometers has been constructed.
पहाड़ों में रहने वालों का जीवन सुगम बनाना देश की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकताओं में से एक है, लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से दशकों तक जो सरकार में रहे उनकी नीति और रणनीति में दूर दूर तक ये चिंतन कहीं नहीं था। उनका एक ही इरादा रहता था, अपनी तिजोरी भरना। जो देश भर में बिखर रहे हैं वो उत्तराखंड को निखार नहीं सकते हैं।
Prime Minister also laid the foundation stone for the child-friendly city project for Dehradun, marking the roads safer for their travel. Foundation stone for projects related to development of water supply, road and drainage system in Dehradun at a cost of over 700 crore rupees and a new medical college in Haridwar costing over 500 crore rupees were also laid. 7 projects, including those which focus on making travel safer by tackling the problem of chronic landslides in the region, were inaugurated by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister also inaugurated the 120 megawatt Vyasi hydroelectric project built over river Yamuna at a cost of over 1,700 crore rupees, along with a Himalayan cultural center at Dehradun. The Center for Aromatic Plants in Dehradun has been inaugurated to facilitate research to help produce a variety of products. All in all, the few hours that Prime Minister spent in Dehradun proved to be a milestone in the state's development journey. With Arun Sharma, Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi shares a spiritual and an emotional connect with Devbhoomi, Uttarakhand, reciting a poem describing the cultural and spiritually rich state. and its people, the Prime Minister expressed his emotions as he closed his address.
जहां पवन बहे संकल्प लिए, जहां पर्वत गर्व सिखाते हैं, जहां ऊंचे नीचे सब रास्ते बस भक्ति के सुर में गाते हैं, उस देव भूमि के ध्यान से ही मैं सदा धन्य हो जाता हूं। है भाग्य मेरा, सौभाग्य मेरा, मैं तुमको शीश नवाता हूं और धन्य धन्य हो जाता हूं। तुम आंचल हो भारत मां का, जीवन की धूप में छाव हो तुम, बस छूने से ही तर जाए सबसे पवित्र वो धरा हो तुम, बस लिए समर्पण तन मन से, जहां अंजुलि में गंगा जल हो, जहां हर एक मन बस निश्चल हो, जहां गांव गांव में देशभक्त, जहां नारी में सच्चा बल हो, उस देव भूमि का आशीर्वाद लिए मैं चलता जाता हूं। मंडवे की रोटी, हड़के की थाप, हर एक मन करता शिव जी का झाप। ऋषि मुनियों की है ये तपोभूमि, कितने वीरों की ये जन्मभूमि। मैं देवभूमि आता हूं, मैं तुमको शीश नवाता हूं और धन्य धन्य हो जाता हूं। मैं तुमको शीश नवाता हूं और धन्य धन्य हो जाता हूं।
Well, the Prime Minister in that poem was expressing his deep connection with the state of Uttarakhand, with the land of God, Devbhumi, and how the winds blow, the resolutions that, it helps you to understand the resolutions that you make. The mountains themselves talk about pride, and the roads also, they all bring together a tune of devotion. And all that is basically leading you to a place which is called the land of God. And that's where he bows in honor of that place. He considers himself blessed. He said that in many forms in that poem. Moving on then, today is Navy Day in India. It commemorates the launch of Operation Trident against Pakistan during the 1971 Indo-Pak War. And it is 50 years since that day, and India's Navy has now grown from strength to strength, playing a critical role in the Indian Ocean region. The Indian Ocean assumes great significance in India's strategic maritime domain, more so than most other waters. Not only is India a key maritime player in the Indian Ocean, it's a net security provider to the countries in the region.
India's inherent maritime character and geostrategic position in the Indian Ocean define our status as a major maritime nation. As the principal manifestation of India's maritime power, the Indian Navy plays a central role in ensuring security and furthering India's national interests at sea.
India has had an inclusive approach to development in the region, as is manifested by the Security and Growth for All in the region, or Sagar acronym, which is India's guiding principle under the Modi government. India looks at interests beyond its immediate neighborhood, and security relationships in Indo-Pacific now add heft to the Sagarmala project.
The Navy has also been at the forefront of cooperative engagements towards realizing the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of Sagar, that is, security and growth for all in the region, by ensuring that the seas remain free, open, inclusive and rules-based.
December 4th is Navy Day, and on Navy Day it is fitting to recall the role played by the Navy during the last 2 years of the global COVID pandemic, taking health aid and support across the Indian Ocean region.
Over the past year, notwithstanding the unprecedented challenges posed by COVID-19, the Indian Navy's operational deployments have been bold, purposeful, and in support of national endeavours. The Navy contributed to the national effort to battle the pandemic and aid friendly foreign countries through provision of health care and aid.
Health challenges and economic challenges are both equally important. The Indian Navy, as a builder's navy, is the very symbol of self-reliance and creates jobs for several thousand people both directly and indirectly, strengthening the association of the maritime domain with the economy.
We have traversed a long and challenging path in transforming from a buyer's navy into a builder's navy. Today, more than 130 warships and submarines have been constructed at Indian shipyards. Platforms across the spectrum, from aircraft carrier to submarines, stealth destroyers, frigates to corvettes, are all being constructed in our country, which is a matter of great pride for us. And of the 39 ships and submarines being constructed for the Navy, 37 are being built at Indian shipyards. This unyielding focus on indigenization and self-reliance plows back a significant portion of the Navy's budget into the Indian economy and accrues numerous downstream benefits like employment generation and upskilling the workforce.
India is playing its part, aided by the Navy, Coast Guard and Indian merchant vessels, of strengthening regionalism, maritime support and creating a sense of extended neighborhood. For India, the Indian Ocean community has rich cultural and historical foundations, and India will always remain a key stakeholder in dealing with ecological, economic and the epidemic-related challenges posed by contemporary realities. Bureau Report, DD India. So let's try to understand that contemporary reality in focus tonight. The Indian Ocean, security and growth for all. Security and growth for all, and to discuss this we have with us Vice Admiral Pradeep Chauhan, retired Director General, National Maritime Foundation, and Yogendra Kumar, former senior diplomat. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. Admiral Chauhan, let me start with you. What kind of theatre has the Indian Ocean become? How critical is it for global trade and geopolitics at the current time?
Thank you very much. First of all, for having me on the panel. The Indian Ocean is today an arena in which there are simultaneous activities going on in the competitive field, in the collaborative endeavor, in the cooperative mechanisms that are being formulated, and there is always a risk right now of a confrontationist requirement that might emerge thanks to the ambitions and the somewhat rash rise of some of the powers within the Indo-Pacific. So I think that the Indian Ocean is now an area of some turbulence. It is a hugely significant area in terms of economics and the global pendulum of strategic and economic power has shifted decisively into this ocean.
Ambassador Yogendra Kumar, how would you assess the Indian Ocean region from the diplomatic point of view, looking at, let's say this is a region which has also a huge population, about 3 billion people almost, taking South Asia, the Middle East, all these other countries that are, that are affected by the Indian Ocean. How would you say that, why is it important for India to be playing such an important role in the Indian Ocean region?
Well, thank you, Mark. First of all,
yes.
Greetings on the day. The Indian Ocean, of course, is in a way the lifeline for India's growth,
yes.
India's development, India's civilizational mission, if I may put it quite like that. The fact of the matter is that currently the power equilibrium is something which actually suits India at the moment as things are presently, which wasn't the case, let's say, a few decades ago. But this particular power equilibrium is coming under threat in different ways. One, of course, has already been mentioned about the fact that the geopolitical competition actually is hotting up. But also at the same time, there is no, at the moment, no effective overarching organization which actually can govern the maritime order, so to say, or to stabilize the maritime order.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that you, of course, have a maritime let's say governance system in terms of US Navy and so on and so forth, but they're actually geared for their geopolitical objective, which actually are in a way over. Now what you need actually are challenges of ecology, challenges of economy, challenges of the epidemic. And now what you find is that unless what you call the non-traditional kind of security challenges for the region, which is really what the Prime Minister's Sagar speech actually in 2015 was actually all about. I mean, of course, it was security architecture, but security architecture cannot be stabilized unless the development and other kind of challenges which the region faces, they actually are taken care. And there are several of them. And in fact, we have one or two organizations like the Muslim Association, some other affiliate bodies, but they still have not yet taken that kind of a overarching role where you can stabilize the entire region, the littoral, the island states, and so on and so forth, stabilize them in such a way that actually this region actually does become a kind of a growth model for the 21st century. So I would briefly put it that this is in sum and substance what the current challenges are for all of us.
Indeed. Admiral Chauhan, so there obviously, because of the, these associations and these groupings don't actually have actual control over the Indian Ocean region. There will be a lot of powers that are vying for control or influence in the region. And that's where, naval forces play a much more significant role. How would you say, India is considered a net security provider in this region. Does that, require India to work, with the best interests of all the nations in the region? And also, there are other competing interests from other states that India needs to sort of neutralize.
Well, first of all, the Indian model is based upon upon the belief that all economies must rise with an economic tide. That means all rise with the tide. It is simply unthinkable for India to have its economy riding on some crest while the neighboring economies are wallowing in some unhappy trough.
Yes.
Secondly, we are firm believers as a country, as a navy, we are firm believers in the somewhat famous comment by Zoltan Mertze, who said that money is a coward. Money does not go where there is excessive turbulence and risk. And the question is, do we need money? Of course. Yeah. Why do we need money? Because our core national interest is the economic, the material, and the societal well-being of the people of India. And that requires that we maintain a stable environment, geographical environment, within which this money flow can take place. One more point. These centuries that lie ahead of us, at least a couple of them, are going to be centuries of the sea, whether this is a function of economic trade in the more traditional manner, energy flows, or futuristic movements towards harnessing new forms of mineral resources.
Yes.
Either India is going to be a maritime power.
Okay.
We're not going to be any kind of power at all. Now, when I say maritime power, I'm not talking about naval power alone. Today is Navy Day, and I'm extraordinarily proud of the fact that I belong to the Indian Navy veteran community right now, but with 4 decades of service behind me. However, what I am saying is that maritime is more than the Navy Coast Guard amalgam, just as security is more than the military security paradigm alone.
Yes.
And what Sagar means. That is what Sagar requires. Now comes the issue of balance and various nations trying to find overarching influence mechanisms.
Yes.
I think, first of all, we must give adequate weightage to the one mechanism that exists, which is for all the navies, the 35, 37 navies of this particular oceanic space. We already have the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, which was set up in 2008, and it is not limited to navies, but it is the principal maritime security agencies of the countries involved. This provides us with the executive layer. That means the ones who will actually do the doing. Above this lie a political layer, and I think IORA or IORA Plus may well fit the bill there. Above that lies a conceptual underpinning, and that conceptual underpinning is comprising Sagar, which has already been expanded, and the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative. This is our construct, and I think it's a good one.
So indeed, so you brought in the concept of the Indo-Pacific, which is actually brought more light back onto the Indian Ocean once again. But the concern, Ambassador Yogendra Kumar, is that China has been engaging with littoral states in the region and islands, and has been developing, a sort of a relationship that is changing the state of play to a large extent. You did talk about the theme of the Indian Ocean Conference, which is about ecology, economy, and the epidemic. But really, I mean, China has changed the way this region is operating, and that's why, I mean, we have the Quad now. We have France operating in the western, on the eastern Indian Ocean, and we are operating in the other part of the Indian Ocean. So how do you look at all this?
That China is expanding its economic footprint, it is only natural that they will actually be coming to areas where they think they need to be present, even to the extent that they want to protect their economic presence or footprint. So, the Prime Minister said in Sagar's speech that we have no problem any navy or any country actually coming into the Indian Ocean, provided they play by the international rules. That's the first point. The second thing is that the Chinese role in a way has been such to invest in countries which have been economically and politically fragile. So this is, we talk about the debt trap, but we also talk about investment in areas which are actually not sustainable. So what actually it means basically is this, that by contributing to the instability of the emerging political order, maritime order in the Indian Ocean, actually they are not doing such a great service. Whereas, as far as India is concerned, because of the fact that India is not seen as a threat by any of the countries, I would say most of the countries, perhaps maybe one or two exceptions are there, but most countries are quite comfortable dealing with India. And Indian approach actually is such that we engage with these countries in terms of this economic sustainability, in terms of their political sustainability, and in terms of adding to the literal effort to actually transit the economies towards the green and the blue economy, which is actually again a major challenge, because this one challenge is emerging actually from the ocean, whether it's ocean warming or ocean acidification or all kinds of things are happening, whether it is cyclonic, increasing frequency of cyclones and so on and so forth. So the point actually here is this, that we actually, this is the effort which is required, let's say, by the littoral countries, and India is in a position to play that role. And I can actually mention that, for example, even in the case of the COVID pandemic, it was India which took the initiative along with Norway and the Gates Foundation for the WHO's COVAX initiative program as an example. So my point that I'm trying to make actually is, this is the way you actually share your experience. This is the way you actually stabilize, because if you destabilize, let's say, a country, or the country becomes increasingly fragile, then the capacity of that country to handle the current challenges, which go far beyond simple, let's say, weighing up the military strength of different countries. They go into the question as to how we're going to handle issues like climate change, how we're going to handle issues like developing sustainable development.
And those also have an impact on the military component. I'm sure about that. Let me bring in for a final word from you, Admiral Chauhan. The fact is that the build-up of military assets is becoming inevitable with so many players. How do you look at this? I mean, is it at the end of the day going to be providing peace, or there's going to be an escalation?
Well, first of all, you must appreciate one thing, that in this whole military build-up, as you put it, one fundamental point is this, that as far as India is concerned, while within the maritime zones of India, within our exclusive economic zone, etc., the Indian Navy will operate seamlessly in complete coordination with the Indian Coast Guard and with a host of other maritime security agencies beyond the maritime zones of India, that means beyond 200 nautical miles of our exclusive economic zone. The Indian Navy is the sole maritime manifestation of the sovereign power of our republic. Now that might sound like a mouthful, but it is absolutely true. And therefore, the strengthening of the Indian Navy is not merely being done in material terms, which is simple, and it is quite evident. It is also being done in capability terms, which means that How good are we at skilling? How good are we at organizing? How good are we at creating stabilization structures across the region?
Okay.
The real way of handling China, for example, the only real way is for us as a country to stitch this region together. And when we do the COVID diplomacies that we have done, when we do the repatriation operations that the Indian Navy has done, remember that if you didn't have this sort of Navy, you couldn't have done the COVID stuff that you did. You couldn't have done the climate change efforts.
Absolutely. So there has been this coordination has finally come to, I mean, it has worked because of, you know, the fact that all these countries are working very closely with each other. Thank you very much, Admiral Pradeep Chauhan and Ambassador Yogendra Kumar, for joining us and enlightening us on this subject. And let's go across live now to listen to the External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, speaking about this very subject.
Three administrations that they themselves may not readily recognize. It is expressed in footprint and posture, terms of engagement, extent of involvement, and nature of initiatives. Overall, the United States is moving towards greater realism, both about itself and the world. It is adjusting to multipolarity and rebalancing, and re-examining the balance between its domestic revival and commitments abroad. This makes it a more active partner beyond orthodox constructs. Given how strong its influence is on the Indian Ocean, this cannot but have implications. We must also bear in mind the uniqueness of the US polity and its ability to reinvent itself. The second major trend is the rise of China. Even otherwise, the emergence of a power at a global level is an extraordinary happening. That this is a different kind of polity enhances the sense of change. The USSR may have borne some similarities, but it never had the centrality to the global economy that China has today. The consequences of China's growing capabilities are particularly profound because of the extrapolation of its domestic seamlessness to the world outside. As a result, whether it is connectivity, technology, or trade, there is now an ongoing debate on the changed nature of power and influence. Separately, we have also seen a sharpening of tensions on territorial issues across the breadth of Asia. Agreements and understandings of yesteryears now seem to have some question marks. Time will, of course, provide answers. Cumulatively, all these factors underline the importance of establishing a multipolar Asia as a foundation of a multipolar world. It would obviously be a serious error to visualize the two developments that I have mentioned as a zero-sum game. Sweeping generalizations are mind games, not serious analysis. Both trends are still open-ended, and gaps created by one cannot be readily filled by the other. As a result, what is emerging is a greater role for middle powers, as well as a stronger practice of regionalism. Whether it is the Indo-Pacific, Afghanistan, or the Gulf, we are seeing more players, greater localization, and arrangements of pragmatism. In fact, we are now entering a world of greater plurilateralism, one that recognizes the shortcomings of multilateralism, the limits of bilateralism, and the untenability of unilateralism from whichever quarter. For the Indian Ocean region, this means more activities and stronger cooperation among resident players. It will lead to new equations and more contemporary understandings, not just among themselves, but also perhaps with external interests. The very centrality of the ocean to global economic processes will ensure responsiveness to the ongoing changes. Given the combination of fatigue and risk aversion that is now so pronounced. It also means a greater proclivity to find regional answers. Put succinctly, Indian Ocean nations are called upon today to take greater responsibilities, fashion better relationships, and display more initiative. Two developments have significant.
Well, we were listening to the External Affairs Minister giving his address at the inauguration, at the inaugural session of the 5th Indian Ocean Conference, which is currently on in the UAE. Moving on then to our next story, the Raising Day of the Border Security Force for the first time was organized in Jaisalmer outside Delhi. And to make the ceremony special, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah was at the border with the Jawans. The Union Home Minister distributed the Ayushman cards for the Jawans during a program on Saturday, and assuring the Jawans about addressing their problems, he said that the government will continuously work for giving relief to the Jawans.
जितनी कठिनाइयां कम कर सकते हैं उतनी करने का सरकार ने प्रयास किया है और भी आगे पर इसको समझकर इसको दूर करने का हम सुनिश्चित प्रयास करेंगे। और जो जिस जगह पे आप तैनात हो वो जगह पूरे देश में वीरों की भूमि के रूप में जानी जाती है। सालों तक यहाँ न झुकने का सिलसिला चालू रहा है। सर कटा दिए मगर सर झुकाए नहीं। राजस्थान ऐसी वीरों की भूमि है, वहीं पर आपकी तैनाती है और यहाँ पर उज्जवल परंपरा को सेना और बीएसएफ के जवानों ने जारी भी रखा है। कम संख्या में होते हुए भी दुश्मनों के दांत खट्टे किए और विजय को प्राप्त किया। पराक्रम की पराकाष्ठा देखने वाली 2-3 लड़ाइयां है, उसमें से लोंगोवाल बॉर्डर की लड़ाई है।
The Home Minister Amit Shah visited the Rohtash border outpost and he saw the sunset at the border outpost. The Union Home Minister also had dinner with the BSF Jawans. And the Union Home Minister Amit Shah offered prayers at the Thanot Mata temple as well. And now let's listen to some of the reactions of the BSF Jawans as the Union Home Minister Amit Shah was with them.
यहाँ पे साथ में माननीय गृह मंत्री महोदय भी साथ में हैं, तो इससे एक बल का कार्मिक होने के नाते बहुत गौरवान्वित महसूस कर रहा हूँ।
बहुत बढ़िया अनुभव कर रहे हैं कि गृह मंत्री के साथ बात करने की और उन्होंने हमारी जो समस्या है उनको देखा, बहुत बढ़िया महसूस कर रहे हैं।
हमारे बीएसएफ का पहले गृह मंत्री की बॉर्डर पे आए, हमारे साथ खाना खा रहे हैं बैठ के, हमें बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है।
हम लोग को बहुत खुशी हुआ कि होम मिनिस्टर साहब यहाँ पे हम लोग के बीच में रात को आए, सर हम लोग से मिले और हौसला अफजाई किए। ये कहना चाहेंगे कि हम लोग के बीच में आके हम लोग का दुख दर्द वो समझे।
बॉर्डर पे आने से तो काफ़ी हौसला बढ़ा है और जैसा कि माननीय गृह मंत्री साहब ने अपने शब्दों से बताया कि सीएपीएफ के लिए काफ़ी स्कीमें लाए हैं, उससे जवानों को काफ़ी फायदा मिलेगा।
हमारे गृह मंत्री यहाँ हमारे साथ खाने बैठे, ये इससे खुशी की कोई बात हो ही नहीं सकती हमारे लिए। आज बहुत खुशी की बात है कि आज देश के गृह मंत्री हमारे साथ बीएसएफ के साथ खाना खाने बैठे।
President Ramnath Kovind addressed the centenary celebration of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. He highlighted the important role that the Accounts Committee is playing in India's democratic traditions. The PAC plays a key role in maintaining transparency and accountability in the functioning of the Treasury.
President Ramnath Kovind has said that the Public Accounts Committee upholds prudence, wisdom and propriety in the parliamentary system. Addressing the centenary celebration of Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, President Kovind highlighted the key aspects and role of Public Accounts Committee.
It has examined public expenditure not only from a legal and formal point of view to find out technical irregularities, if any, but also from the point of view of the economy, prudence, wisdom, and propriety. It has no other aim than to bring to notice any cases of waste, loss, corruption, extravagance, inefficiency.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said, PSC reports always strive to bring improvement in the system. PSC has detected many financial lapses in its glorious work traditions. Vice President said that committees of the Parliament must be strengthened. He added that members of the committees would ensure maximum attendance during their respective meetings.
I personally feel the committee system must be strengthened further. The attendance in committees must improve further. The other day, I have noticed that many of the committees, half of the members do not attend. So maximum attendance, unbiased discussion, and also trying to be partners in development along with the government, along with the parliament, that should be the motto of these committees.
Speaker Om Birla said, this is one of the most important committee of parliament and complimented the PSC members for their dedication to the cause.
भारत जैसे विकासशील देश के अंदर इस समिति के रचनात्मक सुझाव ने वित्तीय संसाधनों के आदर्श उपयोग को बढ़ाया नहीं दिया है, पारदर्शिता लाने का भी काम किया है। सरकार की नीतियों और कार्यक्रमों को बेहतर बनाने में भी पब्लिक अकाउंट कमेटी का बहुत बड़ा योगदान है।
PSC Chairman Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said the PSC is committed to uphold transparency and accountability of the government money. On this occasion, the President released a special souvenir depicting the 100 glorious years of PSC's journey and 67 special articles, including 15 from Commonwealth countries. President Kovind also inaugurated an exhibition depicting the milestone moments of PSC from 1921 to 2021. Bureau Report, DD India.
Cyclone Jawad is likely to change its course near Puri and curve towards Bengal on Sunday. The changing course, it may also start losing its strength while doing so. And it could cross the Bengal coast in the Sundarbans as a deep depression. While it had earlier been predicted to hit land today in the morning, the IMD said that it could now change direction after getting close to Puri at noon on Sunday. Jawad will continue to move northward and along the coast, while the coastal districts of Bengal are set to be lashed by heavy to very heavy rainfall on Saturday. Kolkata and the rest of South Bengal could receive intense showers on Sunday.
आज ये रेनफॉल एक्टिविटी बढ़ेगा जैसे हम पहले प्रेडिक्ट किए थे और कुछ इलाके में हेवी टू वेरी हेवी रेनफॉल होने के साथ साथ एक्सट्रीमली हेवी रेनफॉल आइसोलेटेड प्लेसेस में हो सकता है कोस्टल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स ऑफ ओडिशा और यहाँ नॉर्थ कोस्टल डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स ऑफ आंध्र प्रदेश जैसे श्रीकाकुलम, विजयनगरम एंड एडजनिंग एरिया जो विशाखापट्टनम। गैजेंटिक वेस्ट बंगाल में अभी भी क्लाउड मास आगे बढ़ रहा है और यहाँ भी आज और कल बारिश हो सकता है और आइसोलेटेड प्लेसेस में हेवी टू वेरी हेवी रेनफॉल हो सकता है। 5 तारीख मध्याह्न तक जब ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट वार्ड मूव करेगा एलोंग ओडिशा कोस्ट तब ये धीरे धीरे वीक होने लगेगा और ये साइक्लोन स्टॉर्म वीक होकर जब ओडिशा कोस्ट पहुंचेगा एक डीप डिप्रेशन में परिणत होगा।
The Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia in a tweet has said, and I quote, India achieves another 1 crore COVID-19 vaccinations today with the Har Ghar Dastak campaign in full swing. The world's largest vaccination drive is touching new heights and accomplishing new feats under PM Narendra Modi ji's leadership. A fresh case of Omicron variant has been reported from Gujarat. This is the 3rd confirmed case in the country. Meanwhile, the Union Health Secretary has asked Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Jammu and Kashmir to increase their level of surveillance in the light of rising Delta cases and other cases there.
After Karnataka, a case of Omicron infection has been confirmed from Gujarat. This is the country's 3rd case. A person coming from Zimbabwe reported the new variant of COVID-19 Omicron in Jammu. In view of the fresh case of infection, Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel took a high-level meeting and reviewed all steps of mitigation. The person who have been infected with Omicron in Jamnagar is 72 years old. After his COVID-19 report was positive on Thursday, the sample was sent for genome sequencing.
जहाँ वो रहते थे वहाँ पर जो है हमने माइक्रो कंटेनमेंट जोन बनाया है और इस हिसाब से हम जो हमको प्रिकॉशन लेने हैं और सूचना जो मिली हुई है उन सब का पालन करते हुए हम लोग उस एरिया को घेर कर उसमें लोगों को उनकी टेस्टिंग, उनकी ट्रेसिंग और ज़रूर पड़ेगी तो ट्रीटमेंट ये सब किया जाएगा.
Experts are of the view that due to hybrid immunity in India, people are more safe from the risk of Omicron and the impact will not be so severe as compared to Delta variant.
Simultaneously, we know that nearly 126 crore people until yesterday have also been vaccinated either with one dose or with the 2 doses. So it means that the hybrid immunity in India is very high. And that is definitely the studies, the scientific evidence which has come forward is that people with the hybrid immunity have a better protection against Omicron.
While the government of India has started taking precautionary measures, the World Health Organization has declared Omicron as a variant of concern on 26 November. And these steps include testing of passengers coming from at-risk countries and random testing of people coming from other countries. On getting infected, genome sequencing of the sample has been made mandatory. Karnataka, where 2 people got Omicron variant, has ramped up surveillance. According to new guidelines in Bengaluru, people who have been fully vaccinated are being allowed.
I think it does make sense to have some kind of measures to safeguard people. I think it makes sense as such, at least for the public places where there is a chance of spread risk to communicate. It's quite sensible actually.
Now there is ample supply for everyone. There's no reason why everyone shouldn't be going and taking that 2 doses. And obviously you're going to be a burden on the public health infrastructure if you go catch COVID. So you need to make sure that you're not. So I think it's a very good public health notification. I think it's a great idea.
Meanwhile, in view of the rising cases in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Jammu and Kashmir, Union Health Secretary has written a letter detailing guidelines of surveillance and testing on international passengers, while the mantra of adopting test, track and treat at the local levels is being advised. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the World Health Organization has warned that it could take weeks to determine how infectious the Omicron variant is. That is, whether it causes a more severe illness and how effective treatments and vaccines are against it. The Omicron variant has not caused any fatalities till date in the 1 week since it has been reported active. Here's more.
The World Health Organization has said that the Omicron variant has been detected in 38 countries, but no deaths have yet been reported till now. Authorities worldwide rushed to stem the heavily mutated COVID-19 strain's spread amid warnings that it could damage the global economic recovery. The World Health Organization has warned it could take weeks to determine how infectious the variant is, whether it causes more severe illness, and how effective treatments and vaccines are against it.
We do not yet have information together. And we said a week ago that will take 2-3 weeks. Now that was a week ago. So it will still take some time. And let's not rush into conclusions here. Preliminary data, and we've said that now since a while, show that there's higher transmissibility. But that's all what we basically have so far. Again, different areas, different reports have individual pieces of information, but that's, I would call it right now, an observation of that moment, of that particular area. We need all this together to make a careful assessment.
The new Omicron coronavirus variant is raising concern worldwide given the number of mutations, which might help it spread or even evade antibodies from prior infection or vaccination. Pertaining to the research conducted by various scientists across the world, scientists are busy evaluating the use of booster doses.
We are working with the pharmaceutical companies, particularly obviously Moderna, Pfizer, and J&J, on what their plans are. And they do have plans that have multiple contingency. One is to rev up the production of the vaccines that they already have. The next is to make, for example, a bivalent, where you have a vaccine against both the ancestral strain and the new variant, and the other is to make a variant-specific boost. The degree to which they're going to be doing that, they are now assuming they may have to do that and are being prepared for that.
It's an antigenically different enough coronavirus variant that we're going to have to keep a close eye on it, and we know it's spreading like wildfire around the world. Again, no reason to panic, but a good reason to think about our systems for tracking variants and making sure vaccines, that we have ways to update vaccines quickly, to distribute drugs like Paxlovid once they're approved quickly in an equitable way.
Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has said the new variant could also slow global economic recovery, just as the Delta strain did.
And because the Delta variant proved to be a disruptance, it caused some additional delays in production. So let's be very frank, a new variant that may spread very rapidly can dent confidence, and in that sense, we are likely to see some downgrades of our October projections for global growth.
Meanwhile, African nation Nigeria will start vaccine booster shots from next week for COVID-19 after the country confirmed its first cases of the Omicron variant among 2 travelers who arrived from South Africa last week. Booster shots will be available from 10th December to those who have been fully vaccinated. Only 2.9% of Nigerians eligible to get vaccines have been inoculated so far. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has allocated $12 million worth of emergency funds to support South African countries in responding to the new Omicron COVID-19 variant in the next 3 months. The WHO also dispatched experts to facilitate genome sequencing in Botswana, Mozambique and Namibia, as well as to assist with surveillance and contact tracing in South Africa's Gauteng province. Experts will also provide technical assistance to Botswana to promote the production and distribution of medical oxygen. Bureau Report, DD India.
Emphasizing that Russian President Vladimir Putin's upcoming visit to New Delhi would result in pragmatic economic outcomes, the Russian envoy to India, Nikolai Kudashev, said that the visit will provide an impetus to bilateral relationship of Moscow and New Delhi.
It would be a very comprehensive paper, a very comprehensive document covering all dimensions of our ties, beginning with the united global issues, global affairs and United Nations, revived commitment to its central position in modern world. Then would come multiple regional issues, naturally Afghanistan included, as a source of our common concern. And then much space would be devoted to bilateral ties and the new inputs into this unique track of our relationship, bringing on board new technologies, new ideas, new people and new regions. For the outcomes, aside of the political statement, one could expect also a sizable package, a sizable amount of agreements and memorandums.
Pope Francis has appealed for a return to good politics, saying that democracy has deteriorated dangerously as discontented people are lured by the siren songs of populist politicians who promise easy but unrealistic solutions. The Pope arrived from Cyprus into Athens on Saturday, and Athens, as we know, is often seen as the birthplace of democracy. He's on the second leg of a Mediterranean trip, the main aim of this trip is to draw attention to the plight of migrants and refugees. The New Zealand left-arm spinner Ajaz Patel wrote himself into the history books on day 2 of the second test against India at the Wankhede Stadium, when he became only the 3rd man in the history of Test cricket to take all 10 wickets in an innings. Only Jim Laker and Anil Kumble have achieved this earlier.
New Zealand's Ajaz Patel became the only 3rd bowler in the history of Test cricket to take 10 wickets in an innings. The left-arm spinner achieved the feat during the second test of the series against India in Mumbai. Patel joined England's Jim Laker and India's Anil Kumble as the only third bowler to take 10 wickets in a test innings. Englishman Jim Laker took 10 for 53 against Australia at Manchester in July 1956. Anil Kumble meanwhile had figures of 10 for 74 against Pakistan in Delhi in February 1999. Patel bowled 47.5 overs, conceding 119 runs for his 10 wickets in the first innings of the Mumbai Test. Incidentally, India's Anil Kumble was the last bowler to take 10-wicket haul. He achieved the feat during a test in Delhi against Pakistan in 1999. Azaz had finished with 4 wickets on the first day of the test and continued on his splendid run in the morning session of day 2. Even as the other spinners were significantly expensive in comparison, Patel kept things tight at the end as he continued to inflict regular blows to the Indian innings. From the 85th over of the Indian innings, Azaz Patel bowled a marathon spell till the side was bowled out on 325, during which he took 3 wickets including that of centurion Mayank Agarwal, who scored a gritty 150. Azaz's figure became the best by a New Zealand bowler. The previous best from a Kiwi were 9 for 52, achieved by great Richard Hadley against Australia in 1985. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, the Earth's southernmost continent, Antarctica, has experienced which experiences continual daylight from mid-October until early April, has now seen an eclipse, which brought a few minutes of total darkness there. The solar eclipse occurs when the moon moves between the sun and the earth, and it casts a shadow on the earth, and that fully or partially blocks the sunlight in some areas. For a total eclipse to take place, the sun, moon and the earth must be in a direct line, and the only place that this total eclipse was seen was in Antarctica this time round. And with that unusual and unique conclusion, we come to the end of News Night for tonight. Thanks very much for being with us. Namaskar.